What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the team that took me to expert in the season of Adventures Abound, here in Go Battle League, in the Ultra League, with one of my favorite cores. If you guys have been in this channel for a while, you know how much I love the Obstagoon Deoxys core. It is extremely strong, very, very constantly a thing in the meta, and we've got Steelix, and I mean, this team is just cracked. House Stark put the team out on Go Stadium and whatnot. I've been having this team ready to go since before the season even started, honestly. As soon as Steelix was announced with Breaking Swipe, I'm like, this is going to be the stuff. So the unfortunate thing, though, I'll get into the battles now so I don't waste everyone's time, but unfortunate thing about this is that this is not my expert run per se. If you want to check the expert run out itself, go check out the stream that I put on my channel here. I run Rock Slide on my Deoxys, by the way. Thunderbolt is a preference thing, makes this Registeel matchup so much easier. So run whatever you're comfortable with if you want to try this team. I know that not everybody has Deoxys. Unfortunately, it is a very unique mon in the Ultra League. Not really many things can do what it does and have the coverage that it has, but I definitely think that if you are on the fence about building a Deoxys, I know it's not in raids right now, but it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. This is definitely the best investment I've ever made for the Ultra League. Now, in the stream yesterday, we debuted Shadow Steelix, and I can confidently say that Shadow Steelix is definitely going to be the better Steelix to play over the non-Shadow. But if you can only build a non-Shadow, it's okay. As you're going to see in this video, my non-Shadow Steelix does just fine. Now, these battles are from the day before. I hit expert yesterday. I'm going to safe swap in Steelix here after seeing the Giratina. When it comes to Registeel leads, you got to stay in because Obstagoon and Steelix don't really much care for them. The matchup's not nearly as bad if you have a Shadow Steelix because the Earthquake does a ton of damage. It's insane. So, Earthquake from the Wall Ring, tickling Steelix. Steelix is just too thick for this league, and I mean, everyone says Steelix is a cancer. I completely understand why they say it, but at this point, it's like, even though half the meta is trying to counter it, there's also just as many people who aren't. And so what I'm looking to do here, Obstagoon with its moveset Obstruct, also, by the way, one of the best investments you can possibly put into the Ultra League here. Obstruct Obstagoon is such a good closer in the Ultra League, period. Forcing my opponent to throw on alignment here, gonna get Obstagoon some farm and get the Obstructs and Night Slashes rolling that much quicker. I come straight in with Obstagoon because I know for a fact that I can close this game. My opponent also knows it, and they let it go. Good game to them. Into the next game, we've got a seriously nasty core breaker in Galarian Weezing. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, Ultra League is a little bit of everything at the moment. There's so many things that people have had so much time to build. Galarian Weezing destroys my team. I'm going to be completely honest. So when you see a core breaker like this in the lead, Deoxys is extremely neutral, extremely tanky, and we'll be able to whittle this Weezing down, or with the threat of Psycho Boost, it could even get me both shields here. So what I'm hoping to do here is I'm hoping to get either damage to get rid of this thing or getting both the shields. And if I can get both the shields at the very least, my Steelix can come in and throw an Earthquake at it, and that'll take it out. So I'll give up one shield here because my opponent is about to take me out, and it would be kind of nonsense. My opponent pops in with a Greninja, and I'm going to immediately counter with my Obstagoon. I'm seeing an opportunity here to potentially make something happen. Opponent goes for the Hydro Cannon. It's a good thing to note how much damage things do to your Obstagoon when you start going for Obstruct. Now, obstructing is almost like an art form, honestly, and I haven't completely grasped the entire thing yet, but when Night Slash, like when you need damage, go for Night Slash. When you're looking to come out of a matchup with some extra defense to continue to rail, counter, and Night Slash damage into the thing that comes after, like if, for example, if you counter swap into like a Mandibuzz or something, that would be when I would start using a couple of Obstructs. But when I'm up against something like, Weezing, or, I mean, even in some cases, you could say something like, Galarian Stunfisk, right? There's a time and a place. Opponent comes in with Tapu Fini. I'm like, dude, there's no way. There's no way. You had Weezing on the lead and you got Tapu Fini in the back. I got nothing. Opponent bringing some spice in the next game here with Meganium. And I'm just going to stay in because Steelix doesn't really care for this thing, even though it's not too bad. but Meganium having Earthquake makes this very, very hard to swap out of. So I'm going to stay in and throw the Rock Slides here. I do know that Deoxys does not have much fun in this matchup because Frenzy Plant hits a lot harder than Rock Slide does, but it could put me in a position to potentially get something going on the back end. Again, when you see these core breakers in the lead, you just kind of have to deal with them however best you can. Hope the opponent maybe gives up Switch in order to try and give you an opportunity to leverage the energy on your back Pokemon. Or they do something like this and bring in Charizard with Dragon Breath. And I try to go for the Psycho Boost. I should have just come straight in with Steelix, to be honest. Dragon Breath is not as useful as Wing Attack for the most part. Generates energy a little bit less so, and I don't even know if it actually does less damage too. But because we're resisting these Dragon Breaths and the opponent is not going to be able to get to a move right away, I no-shield that first one because typically what the Charizards like to do is they like to throw the Dragon Claw bait so that I try to shield a Blast Burn. I go ahead and shield this one because it may as well be a Blast Burn at this point, and I'm looking to farm down. My opponent throws again here, and I'm going to say, you know what, I don't think this is another Blast Burn. So I'm going to let it go, and even if it wasn't, I think that my Steelix actually survives that anyway, so they're going to pop back in with their Meganium. I'm going to immediately go for the Breaking Swipe here to start lowering the attack and chipping away, and then I'm going to immediately swap into my Obstagoon, noting that the opponent did, in fact, swap out of that Charizard. So I'm going to go ahead and save the shield for my Obstagoon, and this is one of those situations where you gotta go for the Night Slash here because the Talonflame's not going to shield this, and I get the boost, which almost never happens. So now that I have the boost, I'm much more likely to get a shield from my opponent who has like 1 HP on both the Pokemon in the back. This is when you can safely start to obstruct, and I mean, there's still something to be said about just going straight for the Night Slashes. But if you think you can get a shield, it's a safe way to go obstruct. And then afterwards, I mean, I'll still get taken out by this Talonflame. But I'm going to go ahead and live with 1 HP because of that obstruct. My opponent tries to snipe me. I immediately swap in my Steelix. And I'm going to go for the Breaking Swipe after 1. I know that my opponent threw needing 2 more Incinerates to get to the Flame Charge. They know it. I know it. It's a good game. Well played. Deoxys into Golisopod, another one of those nasty core breakers, dude. I have seen so many of these things, I'm telling you. So here's how I play this out. This is why I like having Rock Slide, because it gets to the move a little bit quicker. Thunderbolt does do better against things like Tapu Fini and Registeel, so like I said at the beginning of the video, that is an absolute preference call for you, depending on what you see more of. I just like Rock Slide because it's what I'm used to, and it's quicker on the draw. So now that I've got shield advantage for my opponent, I'm going to swap into my Steelix. I'm going to look to shield the first Liquidation, because if they do swap out, then they have something else in the back. And they have Greed. But if they had stayed in, I would have been able to go for a Breaking Swipe, and then the next Liquidation would have done less damage, assuming there was no debuff, which at that point we're just talking about RNG. But I know my Breaking Swipe debuff is for sure, so I'll bank on that probability instead. So my opponent's going to start going straight crunch, and this is just a miserable, miserable matchup. And in the middle of this matchup, and this is something that's worth thinking about playing a team like this. This team is not a RPS-y sort of alignment team. It's a very technical team. It's one that's been around in my Discord, not with Steelix necessarily, but in many iterations for the last, God, has it been like 9 seasons now? This team has a very high skill ceiling if you're, very good with dancing around with energy and getting yourself set up for win conditions. And it's also one of those teams that has a very strong skill floor. Like, you don't have to be like an expert player to pick up this team and play it, but the more you know about it and the better you get with it, the more you're going to be able to do with it. And so the one thing you have to keep in mind while playing a team that's as grindy like this is timeout opportunities. My opponent coming in with Greed, we wasted a ton of switch time right there. There's absolutely going to be a timeout issue in this game. So I need to play to that possibility. And so what I look to do here is I'm going to continue to go for moves. My opponent goes and throws a move. I'm going to let this go. Both of my Pokemon are healthier than my opponent, so as long as I either have more Pokemon than my opponent, or I have more than they do, or I have more health combined on my Pokemon than they do, then I'm able to win by timeout. So because my opponent has a Steelix, I'm going to go into my Obstagoon here and keep my Deoxys fresh and healthy. And I'm going to go for Obstructs because this is, once again, one of those opportunities where, and it's actually like Pidgeot. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of jumping around. I'm trying to explain a lot of things at once, hoping that helps people run this team. Because I do feel like this is definitely a Legend level team. House Stark hit Legend with it earlier this week, and I'm looking to honestly do the same. So, because this team is just so good right now because of Steelix. It really is. So you go for a couple of obstructs. It lowers the defense of the opponent, right? If they have an attack debuffing move, you can offset that with the obstruct, and I can just continue to go for moves like they're just going to go breaking swipe, and they barely do any damage, especially after a couple of obstructs, right? It tickles, dude. So they come in with the Golisopod. I'm going to swap out, and all I need to do here is shield this, go for a Psycho Boost, and that'll take out the Golisopod. And that's honestly a good game. Like, timeout here, yes, but I'm going to go for the for sure KO here. Eliminating one of their Pokemon at the last, oh my goodness, excuse me, at the last second to guarantee the win here, because now my timeout win is due to having more Pokemon than my opponent. That's the two things that you win with. And then got another Golisopod here on the lead. This is nasty, dude. Golisopod is one of the nastiest little core breakers in this team. It's so good. But being able to play around it, knowing that even though my Steelix takes super effective damage from liquidation, it's still going to be able to make the opponent dump their energy into the Steelix rather than dumping it into my Deoxys or my Obstagoon, which is honestly what Steelix is here for. It's a grindy sponge. It's a grindy damage sponge is what it is. So I'm going to go for the Psycho Boost here. I want to get some chip damage on this thing before I drop into my Steelix. I recognize that I don't outpace them, so they'll hit me with another charge move if I stay in. So I'm going to go ahead and save my Deoxys. Potentially might have something in the back that they might have that's weak to my Deoxys, so I want to keep it here. And they come in with a Registeel, so not really weak per se to my Deoxys, but we are going to go for the Earthquake here. I'm going to full send it. Like, okay, if they want to shield it, fine, but they don't shield it. Now, the Shadow does slightly more damage. It's about 10% more damage, and that's important because look at how much damage, dude. The Focus Blast from Registeel does like 45-50% to Steelix. That's how bulky this thing is. It took a super effective Focus Blast, forced my opponent to shield. I'm going to immediately dip into my Deoxys to force the energy off of the Registeel. And what I'm looking to do here is to start setting up a sweep with Obstagoon. Registeel is a very good thing to set this up with because it takes so long for it to do anything, and it has no fast move pressure. So they dump in a Charizard, and I know that Charizard does well against Obstagoon, but down 2-0 shields, it's not going to be doing too much. I'm praying for a boost. Don't get it. Gonna have to win this one the old-fashioned way. The opponent likely baits here, but I feel like their only win condition is landing a Blast Burn, so I'm just gonna have to call it here. And the opponent goes for the Dragon Claw. That puts them at, I do believe, 5 more Dragon Claws, so they should not be able to make it to a Dragon Claw plus a Blast Burn here. So I'm assuming that they've got to just go for the Blast Burn anyway. So I'm gonna go for the Night Slash immediately here if I can, because I do know they're gonna get to that Blast Burn. But I try to go for one more and pop in with Steelix instead to catch the charge move, thinking that I could now that my my switch timer was up. I go for that, farm down with the Obstagoon instead, and that was a last-second decision. Normally, I would have just gone straight for the I would have just gone straight for it. But opponent has liquidation. They're going to come in with the Registeel. All I have to do is farm down this Registeel if I can and get a Night Slash off against the Golisopod, which I've already got the energy for. Now all I have to do is get the energy off. My opponent knows that. They concede, and that's a good game. Getting into the next game, this is Greninja, and these battles are all taken from about 3 sets or so of games. So I didn't cherry pick my sets. This was just straight from, 3 sets or so. I did cherry pick a little bit, but I had 3 positive sets in a row with this team, one of them being the 4-1 that you're going to see here at the end. So this team is very consistent, very strong. So I can definitely say that it's got a lot of play here in the Ultra League. I saw a lot of Greninja leads too. As long as they don't boost on the first Night Slash, honestly, you're good to just keep throwing Rock Slides. You can go for a Psycho Boost if you want to at the end. My opponent safe swaps in a Giratina Alter, and I straight in with the Steelix, dude. I get so happy when they safe swap the Giratina because my Steelix gets to abuse it for energy like no other. And I don't have to go for Breaking Swipe right away. I probably should go for 1 right away, or at least with as good timing as I can when I get to it, and then farm down just so I take a little bit less damage over the course of the fight. But honestly, you're going to see Steelix leaves with at least 30% of its HP. The Greninja has to hit me with a charge move to take me out here, which with this much energy and down a shield, that's going to be very difficult for them to do. So I'm either going to see the 3rd Pokemon on my opponent's team here, or the Greninja is going to come back out to play, and we're going to see what they do. But I am dangerously close to big moves here. So I have an Earthquake. I threw the Earthquake. They win CMP as they should. I'm going to go ahead and throw... I'm pretty sure Night Slash doesn't even KO. It might be close, though. But I'm going to go ahead and send the Earthquake, because if they do shield this, I can immediately send this Breaking Swipe out before they can get to even another fast move. and be able to take this thing out right here, right now, and be able to debuff whatever's in the back. The opponent has a Shadow Charizard, and at this point, it's more than over. I can go straight for the Breaking Swipe. I'm going to debuff the Shadow Charizard. I can save the shield for Deoxys if I need to, but all that energy I had in the back, I should have gone for the Rock Slide here in hindsight, but I didn't actually know how much energy I had on the Deoxys at the time, so I just went for the Psycho Boost because I saw that first. But good game to my opponent. Didn't even need to show him the Obstagoon. Need to show him the Obstagoon. Oh, forgot to cut out the queue times here. That's unfortunate. Let's see. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. The queues were getting a little bit long up here, but anyway. So yeah, Go Battle League is, or Go Battle Weekend is this weekend, y'all. Just gonna take the opportunity of my stupidity of not getting rid of this queue timer here. Check me out on Metafy because you get 15% off your first session if you use the coupon code in the description. And I'm gonna be here all weekend just hammering out. I'm either going to hammer out my own sets or I'm gonna coach people with theirs. So feel free to get in, get the 15% off, get some coaching. Fast move timing is a very popular one, very good one to get into if you don't already. Once again, my opponent throws the Dragon Claw bait there, and I fall for it. Dude, I fall for it every time. I feel like I shouldn't, but it's like that threat is so hard. But even then, like, I can just rip right through this matchup. My opponent goes for the Blast Burn here, likely. And that's fine. One Shadow Blast Burn is not going to KO me, and I can farm my opponent down from here. But they do get to the Dragon Claw. At this point, I know it's resisted, not going to do enough damage with a debuff, so they can have it. Tink! And there goes that Charizard, and I'm going to go straight for the Earthquake before the Greninja can farm me down. At this point, I have two counter users, which are two things that the Greninja does not appreciate, but I'm down to shield, so that is a little unfortunate depending on what they've got. And they've got a Skeledirge, and I should have this in the bag because it's a ghost type, right? But two things about Skeledirge, okay? I figured this person was going to shield for sure, dude. And this is where I lose the game, okay? Doesn't matter how many obstructs I have, those disarming voices are still going to hit me pretty hard. So what I should have done in this game is go straight Night Slash. This is one of those opportunities for me to kind of explain the whole obstruct thing. Me going for obstruct here is very incorrect, because Night Slash comes out quicker. The opponent is less likely to shield the first Night Slash because they know they can live the counter damage afterwards. So if I had just gone straight for Night Slashes here, I very well could have won this game. Very well could have done it. I even get the new mechanic where it gives me the opportunity to throw my charge move where the fast move registers. And they shield that one. And then Deoxys here has a full HP bar. I could have gone for Rock Slide, Psycho Boost, something. So I threw this game out the window as soon as I threw those obstructs. So don't make the same mistake as me, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to play this Obstructagoon, then, you know, obstruct smartly. Don't do stupid things like me. So I basically have to farm down the Greninja here and hope the opponent only has a disarming voice. That's really the only way that I win this game. So let's see if the opponent has the win con or not. Do they have the Shadow Ball loaded? Yeah, they do. And they also don't get the one-turn lag that I seem to get almost every time I switch in. So Shadow Ball is going to take out Deoxys. And that's a good game. Well played to my opponent and poorly played to me. But we get a really nasty lead in the next game. We got Trevenant, and I'm going to pop in with my Steelix right away. Opponent not swapping out, which is a tell that either they have another answer in the back for Deoxys, or they have no answer in the back for Steelix, which the second is always the better thing, because if my opponent's going to stay in this matchup, I'm going to load up on a bunch of energy in case they do swap out. Sometimes what an opponent will do is they will actually stay in until you throw the Breaking Swipe and then leave with the energy. The opponent now is not doing that. They're going straight for charge moves here, which means that I'm pretty confident that they don't have an answer in the back for Steelix, or like I said, they have an answer in the back for Deoxys, and they just want to keep their Trevenant on the Steelix so they can put the other thing on the Deoxys. So we'll see what the opponent decides to do here. I am going to be forced to shield. I throw on bad timing on purpose there because I want to get the charge move off to force the shield or alignment before the opponent can get to that next charge move. Because of all these debuffs, I can easily shield and get alignment here, which is actually what I don't do. I should have, because I was thinking, oh, well, there's no way that the opponent has another ghost type in the back, and there's a Galvantula. So in hindsight, yes, it was better for me to let that go and start getting that farm down on Trevenant, because now the Rock Slides are going to do damage. I still have two shields. I know that my Deoxys can live one of these lunges, and Obstagoon has to stay away from this thing, to be honest. So I'm going to go for the Psycho Boost at 5 here. If the opponent shields this, okay. They need another few to get there to the next move after they throw the next lunge, but they do let it go, which is good for me, meaning Obstagoon hopefully cleans up in the back because now they have an Ampharos. All I have to do is not get hit with a Focus Blast, and I am chilling here. So My opponent goes straight for a charge move, but I'm like, I gotta conserve some HP. So they have Thunder Punch, which probably means they have Thunder Punch Brutal Swing or Thunder Punch Trailblaze. Either way, I'd rather not lose to the fact that my opponent has a Shadow Ampharos, and I know that they also have a Seed Bomb or close to one loaded on their Trevenant, so I have to be careful about that. The opponent could snipe me with the Trevenant if they wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and shield up this next one, keeping myself out of Seed Bomb range. The opponent going to have to go for another Thunder Punch to take me out here, but are they going to get there? Yeah, they're going to get there. But I see the combo play coming, so what I'm going to do here, immediately swap into Deoxys and try to catch that Seed Bomb, which we do. Foresight coming in clutch. Does the Seed Bomb even KO from here? No, it does not. The counter damage doesn't KO until the second, which means this is going to be a simul KO. Opponent did not have the energy for another charge move, so I immediately just go straight for the Night Slash to take out the opponent's Ampharos, and that's a good game. Well played. That was a closer one than it should have. Than it could have been. That catch was everything. Another Greninja in the lead. Got to be careful of these. And then the opponent immediately swaps in Charizard. And so I have to be honest here. This is not a safe thing to swap into Deoxys, especially when you're behind on energy. I dump the Rock Slide on this thing, and because I have Obstagoon in the back, I can stay in on the Charizard and always be ahead on energy. And that is brutal for them because they have to go straight Blast Burn. It feels the only way that they could possibly pull this off is if I shield a Dragon Claw. But if I no shield a Dragon Claw because Deoxys is so defensively tanky, it's like I don't need to. Like, watch. This is not going to KO me here. So I'm going to go for the Rock Slide. They go for the Dragon Claw. I'm calling the bait this time. Opponent going for another charge move right off the rip. And I'm like, this is just a Dragon Claw, isn't it? And nope, they went for the Blast Burn. They full sent it. Now I'm out of a Deoxys. So this is now a dangerous game because I didn't think that there was any way that they were already at the charge move for the Blast Burn. But they were. That's me not counting properly. That's something that happens once in a while. Going to go for the Breaking Swipe here. I will let the opponent just throw the Blast Burn here. I'd rather keep the shield to deal with the Greninja, and hopefully whatever's in back is also weak to my Obstagoon. So we're going to see what the opponent comes in with here. Comes straight in with Greninja. They're going to answer with their third after throwing the Hydro Cannon. And I'm going to shield this up because if what they have in the back is weak to Goon, I might go for an Obstruct here, and the opponent just decides we're done. Maybe there was a Guillotine in the back. I'll never know. But that's going to be a good game here. We're grabbing another battle where I did not get out the queue times. Oh, I'm bad at this today, dude. I'm bad. Thankfully, they were short. All right, cool. So getting into the last game here, we've got Deoxys against the Walrein. I could not have asked for a better lead. I win in the back and I win in the front, but they come in with a Nidoqueen. Now, here's the thing about Steelix, folks. It destroys Nidoqueen. It absolutely destroys it. It triple resists the poison damage from the poison jab, and the earth power does like maybe 50-60% from the Nidoqueen. So I'm going to no shield this because I know I live the earth power, but they go for the Poison Fang, which is crazy. So I'm going to go for the Breaking Swipe. I want to force them to shield to get off that earth power, or I want to take this thing out right away. They just let it go. Wait, okay, they almost got to another. They weren't in another charge move yet, but they were close. So the opponent comes back in with the Shadow Walrein. I'm going to start going for Breaking Swipes here. If I can get this Walrein debuffed, it means that Steelix can just continue to do what Steelix does best. Hit things with its long, lanky face. Because, let's be honest, dude, that's a big chin. And that hurts. You ever see the Fairly Odd Parents? You see the, what is it, the cleft? I don't know. I don't remember what it was. Oh, the opponent comes in with a Steelix trying to catch a Breaking Swipe, maybe? And instead, they catch this Earthquake and these hands. Earthquake is going to get the shield, and Obstagoon is going to come in up a shield, and this is where we start going for Obstructs. And from here on out, it's obvious that we're going to have a good game here. This is going to be well played. Opponent can go for as many Breaking Swipes as they want. I'll go for Obstructs in kind, and then Deoxys just gets locked on the Walrein, and that's going to be basically it. So this is well played to my opponent. Unfortunately, the opponent playing to the Steelix Walrein core, not a very strong core because it's weak to counter, and you don't want to be weak to counter in a league where counter users are everywhere. Now, in Master League, if you're ABA to counter, that's acceptable because the counter users in there are very rare or very bad. So, but in this league, you don't want to be ABA to counter because you see a Deoxys and you're just kind of sad. So, getting a 4-1 here, and then this team also got me to Expert once again. So check out the stream from yesterday. I always leave my stream VODs on the channel for people to go back and watch. Maybe that's why less of my videos are getting views anyway. I hope that enough people watch this one, though, because this is a banger of a team. So we'll catch you guys out next time. Thank you very much for watching, and bye-bye.